Hello and welcome to another episode of the TPCast. This is episode number 85. I am Lane.
I'm Kyle. I'm Kevin.
And we're here back doing another podcast after a long absence. The last time we did or released something as a podcast was the commentary for the Marlin movie. And that was, I'm pretty sure, December. No, I'm pretty sure it was November of.
I think we recorded it
2017.
before the movie came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely remember that. But it's definitely been a while since we've done a proper podcast. And that is mainly because we haven't been putting out that much after the Marlin movie. That was a huge undertaking.
We've been making other videos and other content, but just not for Thomas Productions.
Mm-hmm.
We have been busy. We are filmmakers.
So the Marlin movie came out and
Almost 2 years ago now.
And since that time, Kevin, you have kind of expanded into the realm of directing lots of short films.
Yes, I have written, directed, and produced, since the Marlin movie came out, I believe 4 short films, all around 10 minutes in length, except for the last one, which is about 20 minutes, and we're still working on it. The first one that I did, I got to work on that right around the time that the Marlin movie was coming out. And then the second one I did was the following summer, so summer of last year. And then Kyle and I collaborated, and we jointly wrote, directed, and produced a short film we shot it at the beginning of this year. We had written it a while before that. I think we wrote it in August. Yeah, so it took a while to get going. And then just this past summer, I shot what's going to be my biggest one yet, and we're in editing right now. And except for the one that I made with Kyle, you wouldn't think of them as something that I would do if you know me from Thomas Productions. They're more drama and thriller oriented. Those are, I do love comedies and I love doing them. I like acting in them. But I want to make more dramatic thriller style films. So that's what I've been working on, and I think I'm getting pretty good at it.
So, and while you've been helming most of those, Kyle and I have been involved in those.
Yes.
As well.
Lane, as usual, is doing the editing. He's doing the music. He's working on the sound while we're on set. And Kyle just kind of helps out. And I also made one of my own movies alongside the one that we did together. We shot in May of last year. Again, Kevin and Lane helped with each of those.
So while we haven't been putting stuff out on the Thomas Productions channel, we've been making all this stuff. If people are interested in seeing all this, where can they go to do that?
So you can see most of the ones I just talked about, you can see on kevinbrio.com. That's KEVINBRIOT.com. You'll see a couple movies. There's one called Longshore. There's one called Dying Star. And then there's a few comedies that I've made that you'll find on there too. You'll also find an old one called Rain Cloud that you might remember me talking about before. And then if you go around the website, you'll see there's a coming soon or future projects page that has Fruit Punch, which is the one that I did with Kyle.
I'd say
the comedy.
If you like the stuff that we put out on the channel, I feel like that is the one that is most similar to that style.
Along with like the One Job Please stuff, I think people would like that. And then you'll also see one called Dead Scarlet, which is the one that we're editing now that has me more excited than I've ever been about making a film. This one is, I think, really something special.
And then Kyle, you mentioned the film that you did, I think.
Yeah, I did a movie called Obliteration. It is public on YouTube now, and I believe the Thomas Productions social media has a link to it somewhere. I think you could find it through the Facebook page.
Is it on your YouTube channel?
It's on my YouTube channel, yeah. So you can just look up Kyle Brio on YouTube, and I believe it's the only public video I have on there right now.
All right. So that's what we've been doing over the past 1 or 2 years.
2 years since the Marlin movie came out.
But really the reason why we're doing this podcast again is because we just debuted the trailer for Marlin the Elite Season 11.
Who knew that was ever going to happen? Yeah, it was a surprise announcement. We've been making the season for a long time. We never said a word about it online that we're making a new season, so hopefully it was a surprise, and hopefully you were surprised by our surprise.
So, after the movie, we still had more ideas for episodes.
We also took a huge long break.
Well, yeah, that too. So we definitely wanted to make more after the movie, and that's why at the end of the movie you see Marlin the Elite will return, kind of like at the end of all the other episodes. So we started making this new season, I believe it was October of last year, 2018.
We worked on roughly one episode per month, which is what we did before. The only difference is this time we didn't release them when we were done. Actually, there were a few more differences, but we'll get to those.
Yeah, so we're trying something new with this season, and instead of releasing the episodes as we produce them, we've sort of stockpiled them and are going to be releasing them in more of a rapid succession.
Yeah, we literally made all of them before we are going to release one.
And the reason behind that is just because before, based on how fast we can put the episodes out, it was basically one a month. And that's kind of a long time to wait for new stuff. So we're trying this new method out. We'll see how it goes. But I think it's going to be really exciting to have all this stuff just coming out in...
One of the things that I'm excited about that we've never done before, except for maybe with one or two exceptions, is while we were making the episodes, we had no idea what order they were going to come out in. So
for the most part.
Yeah. So, like, the first episode that we made is not the first episode that we're going to release. That was maybe I don't remember, the third or fourth one. And kind of while we were putting that together, we were like, you know what, this one feels like a good first episode. So we didn't decide which ones were going to come out when while we were making them. We're going to decide that later, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, and one of the Lane said that that's why we're trying out something new, is so that we can release them in a quicker fashion than we used to. But I think there were a lot more reasons than just that. Like Kevin said, we can make them in any order we want and then put them in an order that makes sense. Like, for example, we knew what was going to be the first episode when we made it, and we knew what was going to be the season finale, but pretty much everything in between, we can look at that later. And because, we spent 2 years working on this movie, and then 2 years in between, or I should say more like a year without doing anything, when we came back to do an episode for the first time, it was kind of like, we put so much work into the movie. Let's just kind of make something kind of simple here. So,
yeah, the first episode that we did was just a really simple, easy one to put together just to kind of ease ourselves back into it. Maybe you'll figure out when you see it which one it is, maybe not.
And then it also allowed us to say, like, okay, now the one we're going to make now feels like it should be the first one. Let's open it up in a way that makes sense to open up the season. And we had a list of episodes going into the season of like episode ideas that we wanted to do. And the really interesting thing about the way that we make the show is we just have basically a 1-sentence summary, just somebody's idea. And
there's
then
never any scripts or anything.
Yeah, and then we come over and pick an episode from the list and then really decide how it's going to go. And maybe our list was about 10 or so ideas, but there are some episodes that we didn't end up making, and some, like, I know there's an episode that we made recently where we thought of the idea for it like a week before we shot it, instead of it was on our list from before we even started making the season.
It's also, at this point in Marlin, it's really hard to come up with new ideas because we feel like we've done everything, and there are so many times when we'll throw out an idea and somebody else will say, no, we've already done that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, God,
Yeah, with 100
really?
episodes out there already. I mean, even within like the first 2 or 3 seasons, we had a couple episodes of Marlin Gets a Job.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been repeating ourselves for a while, but trying not to repeat ourselves, trying to say, here's a funny situation that we can put Marlin in.
And even though making the episodes was very different than we've done in the past, I think they all feel like regular episodes. It feels like going back and just watching all the ones that came out before the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was definitely the goal going into it.
It doesn't have the production value of the movie. It has the production value of the old episodes.
Hopefully in a good way.
Yeah.
Whereas the movie was like this big, grand, epic thing, like a full-length movie. This is just going back to the way that we did the show, which is hopefully where you fell in love with us in the first place. And, I don't know about you guys. I'm really, really excited about so many of these episodes. I think it's one of our best seasons ever. And I think if I was going to put together a list of like the 10 greatest episodes of all time, I think at least 2 or 3 of them would come from this new season.
That is high praise. Honestly, I'm not sure if I would, but I'll
I think
leave it to everyone else.
Probably at least one of them for sure.
Yeah. So we've.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, please.
How about you talk about how the events of the movie affected this season, if it did at all?
Yeah, so
should you watch this after having seen the movie?
So I think the main thing is that you definitely don't have to. And
it does take place after the movie.
Yeah, it does. And there'll be certain situations that Marlin will get into that will follow up events that happened in the movie or involve information that was revealed in the movie. But it's not crucial that you've seen the movie to get these episodes. And
hopefully you have seen it, though.
Yeah.
You don't need to rewatch the movie, although it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that.
I think that's also one of the challenges with having all these episodes that we've done. At this point, it's 100, soon to be more, plus an hour and a half movie. Is that we want to keep the barrier of entry low so that people don't feel like they have to watch everything to be able to enjoy the new stuff.
Yeah, we put out a really great recap video right before the movie came out. That would be a good thing to watch.
Yeah.
And then maybe watch the movie too.
Something else I want to say is we've done episodes in the past where it's like 2 episodes back to back that follow the same storyline, or we did. I believe last season we did the teleporter storyline, which lasted a few episodes throughout the season.
Was that the last season?
It was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
God, so long
with
ago.
this new season, all the episodes are standalone. So,
Yeah.
like I said, we made them out of order. We don't know what order exactly we're going to put them in as we're making them.
Those
but
two-parter episodes are great, and I really like a lot of them, like the one where they go to space in one episode, and then the next one is the whole space pirate thing. I really like doing those. It's a lot of work. This time, there's none of those. Like Kyle said, they're all standalone, and I think they're all fantastic. I don't think there's any filler episodes, especially because each one feels very important the way we're doing it now. It's not like, oh, it's time to do another episode. Let's do one. Like, we really focused on making sure all the episodes were great. Even that first simple, easy, ease us back into doing it. It's still a great, hilarious episode.
And like I said about, we had that list of ideas. Some of them, it's like, we had some that, Kevin and I were like, I don't think this sounds like a good idea. I don't think we should do it. And some that we didn't end up making that I would like to come back to in the future. I think they're good enough to do. And also, I there was one episode that I think kind of took some convincing from Lane to get us to actually do it, because on paper I don't think it sounded like the best idea of all time. And after watching it when it was over, it has turned into one of my favorite, if not my favorite episodes of all time.
It would go on your top 10 list.
Absolutely, it would.
I will say the first one that we shot, not the first one that's coming out, the first one that we shot was an idea that I had a really long time ago that I always would pitch, and for some reason it never made it through. So I was really glad that we were able to get that one in, because I think it's a really funny idea. Oh my God. We all stopped talking. We all have nothing else to say.
Silence.
Well, that's it, guys. No.
So, the new episode, the premiere of the season, is coming out on September 4th.
Why is it coming out on September 4th, Lane?
That's when we released the first episode. It came out September 4th, 2007.
Can you believe it? That's 12 years that we've been making Marlin the Elite. And
That's 12 years a slave to Marlin the Elite.
All the way back back in the Halo 2
When we
days.
started making Marlin the Elite, Halo 3 was not even out yet. Isn't that crazy? And we had made 6 episodes in the 20, maybe 21 days in between when we started and when it came out. Isn't that insane?
now we can hardly do one a month.
But we take much greater care of it. You
Yeah.
wouldn't want to watch those first episodes, in my opinion. I wouldn't want to watch them.
So, so we released the trailer, and the first episode is coming out September 4th, and we can definitely say that the following episode, the second episode, will come out the following week. And
So we're just going to get them right out to you guys.
so there's 10 episodes total in the season, and that's how we've always had it. There's always been 10 episodes per season. So far, based on the trailer, there's lots of positive feedback. And
Yeah, can I say, Lane, that you did a very excellent job making that trailer?
thanks. The trailer does include like clips from almost every episode in the season, and hopefully like cut and trimmed in a way that doesn't reveal too much about any one particular episode.
You know what's really interesting? I was watching the teaser or trailer this morning, and because it's been so long since we've done a lot of these episodes, I was looking at it and I had to rewind and look at some of these shots and say, hold on, what episode is that from?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Can
because,
you,
off the top of your head, tell me, or maybe you're not willing to, how many episodes are shown in the trailer? And if you're not willing to, can you show me your hands?
I'm pretty sure I can't be positive on this. I'd have to go check, but I'm almost certain it's 9 out of 10.
Okay.
And that's only because the last one is the last one that we're producing, and
It's not ready.
it's not ready.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go ahead and read some of the comments from the YouTube page really quickly here. Alpha Crusaders says that it looks good. And he also says that Marlin the Elite is one of the most underrated machinimas ever made.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
I have to agree.
Does he also say you guys deserve way more subs and views?
Y'all deserve so much more publicity due to how much raw effort y'all put into the series.
That's one of my
Thank
favorite
you.
comments that we seem to get a lot.
Just make sure to spread the word, guys.
He goes on to say,
If you believe we need more, help us
for
out.
the amount of like the sheer production value of our show and the amount of effort and love that we put into it, I have to agree with you. But
Yeah,
you know,
I can't
we do it because
actually-
we like it, not because we need views or anything.
I can't actually guarantee that the man hours that we put into it match the watch time. It might be. I don't know. I think
yeah,
definitely
it
the
does.
earlier episodes were far surpassed. These newer ones, I'm not so sure.
yeah, just because we put more effort into the
But
later episodes.
it's the same thing with like my movies. Like if I look at the watch time on my movies, I think they're around, God, I'd have to double check, but maybe like 1,500 minutes. And I know that with all the people that worked on it for all those days and then all the time we spent in editing, it doesn't match yet. Although some of them, like, maybe they've been screened in theaters to large audiences.
but
that I
you know,
just don't
that's not
about.
something you should care about. You do it because you love doing it.
Yes.
To just finish out Alpha's Crusaders comment, he says, "Thank y'all for being one of the bigger parts of my childhood and to this day."
You're welcome.
So
Thanks for that nice comment.
yeah, that is really incredible.
I always like hearing that, you know, people get nostalgic about our show, and when people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you guys are still doing this," because you know what's interesting is it was part of my childhood too. I was like 14 years old when we started making this.
Yeah, Kyle and I used to walk around our like middle school during our breaks, and we would just talk about making like our episode ideas.
Oh my God, 100 people saw the thing that we made.
Also, hold on, can
Oh,
I
yeah.
just say one of my favorite comments that we've gotten a few of them, especially around the time the movie came out, was I used to like we'd get all my friends over and we'd all watch it together. I
Mhm.
really love the idea of just people like 2 or 3 or 4 people sitting around watching our episodes laughing. Even if that means it gets 1 view instead of 4, because you know how much I care about the views. I really like that idea because that's what we do too.
Moving on to another comment, the great Isaiah says, "Jesus, 11 seasons. Good luck, man. That's a huge feat."
Thank you. And you know what? I believe the original run of Red versus Blue only lasted 100 episodes, and we're going to be at 110 now. Suck it, Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, really gunning for the top the top spot there, but I'm
know,
pretty
we
sure
might be-
they've made a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be interesting though if we were like the longest running machinima if you only count what they did under Red versus Blue instead of other subtitles? We might
We
be.
might
I don't
be.
know. I mean Halo machinima at least.
I don't know. Kevin, going back to what you were saying about like view time versus like production time, I also think that's because it seems like machinima has gotten less popular. It seemed like pretty much when Halo 3 came out and
That was the
and
they
overlapping
introduced-
into Halo Reach, that was the peak of
Yeah.
people making
Is that
machinima.
They had just introduced theater mode, and so people were able to really make, you know, not quite movie quality, but almost. And I mean, I think we were kind of able to do it with Marlin the Elite, the movie, that people were able to really create stories and share them in the way that people are used to consuming media. And so that's why it was really popular around that time. It was new, and people are still making machinima. I mean, we are still making it, and
I would-
people watch it occasionally.
I would be fascinated to see what the watch time is on the movie, because I haven't seen any of those analytics.
You know, it finally got one dislike.
Oh, really?
Not at 100% anymore.
Delete and re-upload.
So there's more comments, but thank you guys all for putting those out there, and we hope that this new season will live up to your expectations.
Yeah, and something I'm going to say, I'm laying a promise I'm going to be 100% spoiler free here. The season finale that we made for this season, I'm so excited about. It's actually an idea that I think we've had longer than Marlin the Elite has even been around. Am I right?
Yeah,
In a
definitely
way.
in some form.
I don't know
It's
when it first came
Yeah.
up to do it as a Marlin episode.
It's an idea that we realized would translate well to a Marlin episode, but it's something that I think we came up with years and years
No,
and
we
years ago.
were young children when we
Yeah.
thought of this thing.
And I am so excited for you guys to see it. Finally making it out there into the world.
Our little idea.
So, is there anything else that you guys want to mention about Marlin the Elite or the season or anything like that?
I think I'm just really excited to start releasing the episodes, because we've been doing it in secret for so long and nobody knew. And finally we're going to hear feedback. And also those episodes that we made like back in, what'd you say, October, I haven't seen it since we finished it. So I'm excited to go and see the old episodes that we made. And like now to me they feel old, but to you guys they're going to be brand new.
Yeah, and I remember like watching, because the way that we make these episodes is we'll shoot it on a day, then Lane will edit it, and we'll come over again and do the voiceovers, and then when we're done with that, we'll watch the episode as it is. And a lot of times, you know, it's done, or a lot of times Lane will say, okay, I haven't like put music here yet, or this is going to change, there's no special effects here. So I'm also looking forward to seeing the finished product of a lot of these episodes that we didn't get to see them finished totally.
Yeah, that's another thing. I know pretty much all the way up until I feel like we did the movie, I tried to finish the episode, like pretty much everything except your guys' voiceovers, so that when you came over and you did it and you watched it, that was what was going up. But now it's changed to where now I feel like it's kind of reversed, like where pretty much after it's edited together enough and I've done my voiceovers, that's when I have you guys come over to record.
And then you'll do all the polishing.
Yeah, and that's mainly just so that I don't end up doing stuff that I have to like redo or adjust, so that once you guys have recorded your voiceovers, I can do it, and then that'll be the final thing.
That made sense to me. I don't know if everyone else, like, it's an editing thing. It's an editing thing, guys.
You know what else is that, like, a lot of these episodes that we used to do in the past would be like really big, grand, epic ideas, like a lot of the Corey ones, and there'd be lots of special effects, which is something that we brought over to the movie. Was, you know, a lot of special effects, a lot of time in post-production working on, I mean, you can look at the videos that Lane put up about kind of the different things that we did with a lot of the shots. Whereas this season, there is still some of that, some special effects moments, but a lot of it is also really simple, just like the old classic episodes. And I think that gives this season more of a, not necessarily simple feel, but like a classic feel as some of the old episodes. That vibe of just three guys making machinima.
Yeah, I
but
don't
a
think,
lot higher quality.
I don't think it feels like these three guys who feel all high and mighty now that we've made a movie and we all went to film school and we're all making our own short films now. Like, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like just going back and doing the old stuff just for fun and not worrying about, is it going to be good? Because we know it's going to be good.
Yeah,
Because
like,
when you put the three of us together and we make a Marlin episode, it's going to be funny. There's so many jokes that we come up with just while we're recording the voices And that's
Mhm.
like always exciting when you get something and you're on a roll, and that's always great.
Speaking of like jokes that you come up with, having a lag time, especially this long of a lag time, between when we make an episode and when an episode comes out, I felt like that made us like reconsider like what jokes could be in there, and this kind of echoes the same thing that we experienced with the movie, is that if we make like a reference that is in any way timely,
Yeah.
by how quickly culture is moving nowadays, when this episode comes out, a year after we've made it, who knows if that's going to be relevant
Yeah,
anymore.
we can't make as many topical jokes, which is fine.
Yeah. Do you think? Yeah. So you're thinking that's a good thing?
I think so.
I think it makes it more timely.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Seinfeld
Or
people's-
timeless?
Yeah, more timeless. Kind of like how people can still watch Seinfeld and it's still funny because even though the computer looks like it's from the 80s or whatever,
And they have to pull up the antenna before they answer the phone.
it's like the comedy is still so modern.
The situations.
And I think that's what we're able to do with knowing that people aren't going to see this episode for 10 months or whatever. We're not referencing a lot of what's going on in the news. We're just making a Marlin episode, kind of self-contained.
All right. So, unless you guys have anything else to add, should we move on to? We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but just like what we've been watching, what we've, liked in the like year or two interim.
Sure. I'll start. So, I'm sure nobody knows this. I don't think I've ever mentioned it off the top of my head. My favorite movie of all time is Creed. And if you don't know what that is, that was a 2015 movie directed by Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther. It was a Rocky spin-off movie starring Michael B. Jordan, where Michael B. Jordan's character moves to Philadelphia to start training as a boxer under the great Rocky Balboa. And when I watched that movie, I watched it in the theaters almost a month after it had come out. So it was like one of the last showings in a small, tiny theater. Like, we got terrible seats. And I am not really a boxing fan. Actually, I'm not a boxing fan. I don't really know anything about it. I'm not a sports movie fan. I'm not a huge Rocky fan. At that point, I think I had seen the first two movies, but years before, so I kind of knew who Rocky was, but I didn't really know the story. I walked out of that theater, and I still, to this day, remember saying, what am I doing trying to make movies? I'm never going to make anything that good. So it almost immediately became my favorite movie. And so, since then, Creed 2 has come out. I saw that movie twice in the theaters. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it was as good as the first one.
It was a different director.
Yeah. But it was really well done, and I enjoyed Creed 2.
Kyle, is there anything that you've seen that really that you've really enjoyed? You really like?
Yeah, I loved Aquaman. Not. Aquaman is the worst movie maybe that I've ever seen in theaters.
Aquaman.
That's a
did
fun
not
movie
really
for
enjoy.
all the
The wrong reasons.
other reasons.
It reminds me of when we watched Transmorphers, that rip-off movie that you kind of watch just because it's bad. Whereas Aquaman, I went into it not knowing it was awful. And
Yeah, it was getting good reviews.
my suspension of disbelief lasted maybe 30 minutes. And then it was just like laughing at just how poorly done it was. It felt like
the
every
entertainment value came from the absurdity of the movie.
It really felt like
itself.
every director or every scene had a different director just because the tone changed wildly throughout.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I will say another thing that I really enjoyed was the TV show Barry on HBO.
Mhm.
I said, I think while I was watching it or after I finished it, I said that I have not had that much fun watching a TV show since Breaking Bad, which is...
I don't recall you ever saying that, at least in my presence.
They're very different shows.
I think I tweeted
He's
it.
talking about the entertainment value.
So Breaking Bad is the greatest TV show of all time. In my opinion, that cannot be debated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything will ever top it. I'm not saying Barry is as good as Breaking Bad. It's not. But I had so much fun watching that show. Another show that I really love, which we just finished watching the second season, me and Kyle, and Lane too, is Mindhunter. That
on
was
Netflix?
Yeah, on Netflix. That's a David Fincher show. So David Fincher, he also made House of Cards. He made The Social Network, Gone Girl, Seven, Fight Club. He's a very famous director. He's very good. I love David Fincher. He's one of my inspirations. There's a specific shot in Longshore that I wanted to make look like a David Fincher shot, and I think I did okay. And also, actually, just a few days ago, I rewatched Gone Girl.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies. I think that movie is incredible. I read the book right before I watched the movie, which was an excellent idea. So I highly recommend Mindhunter and Gone Girl. I know Gone Girl is kind of old now.
Yeah, but
It was
it doesn't.
2014. It doesn't feel that old. I love David Fincher. I think he's an amazing director. He's so smart. And when you watch anything that he's done, you can see it. Along with Quentin Tarantino. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my favorite movie that I've seen this year so far. It's my top film of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Maybe Joker looks pretty good. That one could beat it.
Also, Star Wars is coming out.
That's true.
Are you including movies that are like coming out in theaters this year, or just movies that you've seen this year?
Movies that I've seen in theaters this year so far. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the best one. Quentin Tarantino, I love him. I think he's a better writer than he is director. He's a good director. He's an incredible writer. And I relate to that. I'm not saying I'm such a great writer, but in my experience from all the short films that I've done, I always feel like initially I like the script a lot more. I feel like when the movie is first coming out, when we're in the editing room, it's like, God, like I don't know if I captured what I wrote in the script. Like the script is really strong, but then over time it didn't come out maybe the way I had pictured it when I written it, but I think the way it came out, I'm very proud of the movies that I've made, and I think this new one that I'm doing is going to be the best example of matching the script. I think everybody did a great job on it.
I think I'm close to agreeing with you about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in terms of stuff that I've seen so far in the theater this year that I've really enjoyed. I think the only other one that I think could probably top it, and this is a little bit more niche, but a documentary came out about Apollo 11 called Apollo 11. And this being the 50th anniversary of the moon landing.
Fake. Just kidding.
There's been lots of stuff that's been coming out about it. And this documentary, I think, is definitely one of the best representations of that. So you go into it and you've seen, footage of, like rockets launching and all that stuff. But the filmmakers for this documentary went into the archives and they found footage that pretty much no one had hardly ever seen before, that was shot on like these huge film stocks. I think it was I want to say 70 millimeter film or stuff like that. So especially for footage of the actual rocket launching and the astronauts, getting their suits on and preparing, you watch it in the theater and it looks like it was shot yesterday.
Wow.
It's really incredible to see.
I can't remember off the top of my head ever seeing a documentary in theaters. documentaries aren't my favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a few documentaries that I just absolutely love. One of them is the HBO, I think it was HBO, the Scientology documentary Going Clear. And then I think it was Hulu had a really great James Bond documentary about George Lazenby, and it was all about like his whole life from when he was a kid to getting the James Bond gig to why he gave it up and the whole making the movie in his life. And it was essentially told by him. So it was him telling his story, and it's very biased towards him because he's telling it. And it's you know, like they got these actors to film what he's talking about. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You have to find a way to watch it. It is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. And like, you don't know if it's 100% true or not, but it doesn't really matter because it's so
entertaining.
Yeah, it's so entertaining.
I remember a part
it.
that really stands out to me in that documentary was they're talking about the audition process, about how everyone was auditioning for James Bond, and this guy, I think he was like one of the last ones, or he showed up after everyone had already left wearing a suit and just like leaning against the wall saying,
it was a Sean Connery suit.
He got Sean Connery's suit, a suit that was made for him, and he put it on and was like, you know, went into the casting room or whatever and said, "I heard you looking for James Bond." It looks exactly like him. It's great.
Is there any? Oh, Kyle, what was your favorite movie so far this year?
Probably Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to see the list of everything I've seen.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at earlier.
And then last year, we haven't talked anything about last year. There were two movies that I really enjoyed. One was Creed 2. I talked about that. And the other was the Into the Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
So well done. It was, what was great about it was if you're looking at it, it looks like it's geared towards kids. And not that it's not geared towards kids, but it's a genuinely funny movie. Like if you're an adult and you're like, I don't want to watch a kids movie, it doesn't feel like a kids movie. It's made for everyone in the best way. Like hearing myself say that, I feel like I wouldn't want to watch it.
What are you talking about?
Into the Spider-Verse. But it was so well done. Genuine laughs throughout the entire thing from the beginning to end. It was so enjoyable. I really loved it.
You know what was a pretty good movie? Not the best I've ever seen, but pretty good was Yesterday.
Oh yeah, that was a cool movie. You didn't see that, did you?
No, I didn't see that.
It's a movie about
the Beatles have disappeared.
Yeah, like only one guy in the world remembers all the Beatles songs, and he claims them as his own and becomes like a mega star off music that other people wrote.
Mm-hmm.
It was made by
Danny Boyle.
Danny Boyle, who has directed The Three of Us. We were extras in his Steve Jobs movie.
Another movie came out last year, documentary Three Identical Strangers, which we did see in the theater.
You're right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was
fascinating.
It was good, but as I said earlier, I can't remember seeing the documentary in theaters. I guess it was kind of forgettable, which is weird because I'm a twin. And that movie is about triplets.
So
I can't identify.
Looking forward, is there anything that you're looking forward to?
Well, I already mentioned Joker. I think a couple days ago, the new trailer for that movie came out. I just think that looks incredible. Even if it gets terrible reviews, which the reviews are starting to come out today, and I saw one review that was glowing. So it probably will end up getting good reviews. I have to see that movie.
It looks like it was
so well made.
It looks like it was written just for him. Like
Joaquin Phoenix.
It looks like the role that he was absolutely born to play.
His Joker laugh is so like bone-chillingly scary. I love it. And of course, Star Wars. Lane was about to talk about that, weren't you?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, and I'm going into it like with, I think I would describe it as cautiously optimistic, and this is after, The Last Jedi, and I didn't hate The Last Jedi. I I liked it overall, but
Kind of has you worried.
I think I'm just a little trepidatious about them calling it the end of the saga, pretty much.
Why? You think they'll continue it after this?
Obviously, it depends on how they, quote, end things in here. I think one thing is that, they ended things really well in Return of the Jedi. And
but they also restarted it really well in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that if they could pull that off, and before Disney bought Lucasfilm, the thought of Episode 7 was just so out there, especially with George saying that, he's done and he's not going to make another movie. I feel like with the new cast of characters that they've come up with, I feel like they're
really strong.
Yeah, so they're so likable that I feel like even if it's 10 or 15 years down the line, they won't be able to help themselves in bringing them back.
I'm sure they're all contracted too.
So, so I'm hesitant about it in that context, and in a way, just like a little. I'm not sure if sad is the phrase I would use, but
you're not ready for it to be over.
I'm just questioning, like why they need to, definitively like end it, especially when I feel like they're just gonna go back to it eventually.
What are your feelings on The Mandalorian? Did you watch that trailer?
I did watch the trailer, and I'm looking forward to it.
Are you gonna spring for Disney Plus?
Yeah,
immediately.
Pretty much, yeah. It's definitely, at least as they're rolling it out, the price is good enough that it's definitely worth it.
And you'll get The Mandalorian, and then there's also a bunch of like Marvel shows. Like there's going to be a Loki show. That seems exciting.
All that.
Oh, and of course, an Obi-Wan show eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, they really announced it.
Yeah. But
would you rather have an Obi-Wan movie, or are you glad it's going to be a show?
I think I'm leaning slightly more towards I'd rather have a movie.
Me too.
Now, even though that means like there would be less content, I feel like having a movie would, I don't know, maybe focus things more into being a much higher quality or something. Of course, now
with more episodes comes more opportunity to screw up.
Yeah, and that a caveat is that as far as I know, I haven't seen anything. I don't think they've discussed about, who's going to be like the showrunner of the Obi-Wan series.
Who else is involved in it? We don't know.
And the person who has helmed Star Wars The Clone Wars is Dave Filoni, and he was taught by George Lucas himself, and George was personally involved with Dave Filoni in developing that. So he's kind of, learned sort of, I don't know, the ways of the Force, if you say, from George himself. And with The Mandalorian, he's coming on as like a co-creator or something, along with Jon Favreau. And I think he's directing one of the episodes as well.
Did Jon Favreau end up directing it all?
Not that I'm aware of. So I will say, if they announce that the Kenobi series is being helmed by Dave Filoni, then, that's gold to me. And in that case, the series is fine, because I really trust that he's going to, keep the integrity intact and not do something recklessly, or at least not do something without a good reason and a lot of thought behind it. Yeah, so I will definitely watch that when it comes out. Also, the Downton Abbey movie's coming out. I'm gonna see that. In theaters.
Never seen an episode of that show.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. It's soap opera-y, but it was very addicting.
I saw the trailer. I can't remember. I saw it in front of some movie. I don't even remember what movie it was.
Kyle,
were you there? Yeah.
Kyle, is there any thing that you're looking forward to in particular?
Off the top of my head, nothing that you guys haven't already talked about.
All right. I think we're starting to wind down a bit. But oh yeah.
One other thing that I've enjoyed lately and Lane is just getting into now is The Boys. It's an Amazon TV show about superheroes in the modern age and how they are not what you'd think they are based on the movies that you've been watching. And that was a really, really entertaining show. And it's coming back for a second season, which they're shooting now, which I'm very excited about. So I recommend The Boys.
Yeah, I would too.
How many have you seen? Do you know? He told me earlier he just thinks about 4 or 5.
Yeah. It's really fascinating taking like the corporate world of like superhero management, like a la, Marvel and DC, but then combining that with the fact that they're real superheroes and it's kind of like a talent agency or
like
management.
managing their image and their story almost.
I feel like the concept is so like
fresh.
Neat, fresh, and interesting. I feel like it has to be based on a novel.
It's a graphic novel.
Oh, okay. That explains it. But it's still good.
Yeah.
Delving really quickly into the realm of video games, is there anything that you've played that you would highly recommend or are currently playing?
I'll say the last thing that I played was Rage 2, and I had a lot of fun with that. If you've played the original Rage, it's similar to that, but better in every way. So it's just like ridiculously fun. Kevin has an anecdote about that. Yeah, when he first started playing it, I picked up the controller and played it for a few minutes, and I did not want to give the controller back. I was having so much fun just running around, shooting people. Personally, I played Apex Legends, and I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
I played through all the Dishonored games, and I really liked those. I think the first one was the strongest one. I played Doom. I loved that, and I'm looking forward to the second one. And I was just like everybody else, disappointed by Fallout 76. If you know me, you know that Fallout is my favorite video game franchise. It's very important to me, and I played it a lot. I went in with an open mind, knowing it wasn't going to be what I was expecting, and it just didn't work for me, and I ended up I returned it. Well, I turned it into GameStop for credit. It sounds like they've done a lot of work and turned a lot of the problems around, but it's not for me. I'm not gonna check it out.
Mm-hmm. My video game playing, I must say, has slowed down. Might have something to do with all these Marlin episodes that we've been making, but I did play Apex Legends for a while.
Yeah.
I haven't played that recently, so
I repicked it up for the first time a couple of weeks ago. I've played it sparsely since then, and there have been a lot of changes since the last time that we played. They've added in a lot of new pickups, and the map has changed a lot. They've added a lot of new things in the map to go around and discover. There's new buildings. There's new little play areas. it's like they've done a really good job of keeping it fresh. I can imagine if I had kept playing it, it's like, oh, I'm not getting tired of it because they keep adding. There's new weapons and there's new areas, and I would recommend just throwing it on just for a day or two and check out what they've done.
So I checked that out. One game that really sticks out in my mind that I've played since the last podcast was Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, for me, that really kind of like scratched an itch, like for an exploration game, like an open world.
It was just so
combined with an
well,
RPG.
so well realized. Like that game was from the people that made Killzone, which is like a Halo Call of Duty type first-person shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And now they go totally in the opposite direction of this post-apocalyptic robot dinosaurs roam the wilderness, explore RPG, just fantastic. I played it twice in a row, which is something very rare for me. I don't do that a lot. I did it with Dishonored 1 and 2, and I did it with Horizon Zero Dawn.
I will say, I think my favorite video game franchises, there's Halo, there's Mass Effect, even though Andromeda was pretty disappointing. And then under that, I might have to go with Uncharted. I just love the gameplay is so much fun. I also really enjoy Tomb Raider, which is very similar to Uncharted. And then also I recently played the Spider-Man game on PS4, which I don't know. Have you played that yet?
No, that's next up on my list.
It's so much fun. It's one of the only like very few games that I actually 100%ed and deliberately tried to get 100% because I wanted to do everything because I was having so much fun with it.
Yeah, I did that with the first Borderlands game, and then I couldn't even finish the second one. Also, I played the last two Assassin's Creed games. I recently finished Odyssey. And those games, they've really changed what Assassin's Creed is. They open it up into this whole RPG. The games are much longer. They take a lot more time to complete, which I have to say I think is a detriment because by the time I get to the end, I'm so tired of playing this game that I can't wait for it to be over, which is not something you want from a game.
I must say, I feel like that holds true because you asked if I wanted to borrow it, and I think you mentioned how long it is.
It's going to take you a very long time.
Yeah, and I feel like
play.
at the rate I'm going, I wouldn't finish it like in any sort of timely manner. So that makes me want to just not start it.
So I can tell you, I got Assassin's Creed Odyssey on June 2nd, which, to put that in perspective, was the day that we shot the last scene for the last movie that we did.
Mm-hmm.
I got it that day. I just finished it like probably less than 2 weeks ago.
I also want to mention Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of my favorite games I've ever played. I played it for I think like 45 days straight before I finished it. And I remember when I was finishing it, I was thinking, what am I going to do when this is over? It was just so beautifully done, pulled off very well, and long, but like not to the point where you get sick of it. It was like rewardingly long. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah,
so Red Dead Redemption 2
was not
highly
rewardingly.
recommended.
Assassin's Creed not rewardingly long. I made the mistake of when I played Assassin's Creed Origins, I was having a really great time when I started it. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get the season pass and I'll get the 2 DLCs. And by the time I'd finished the game and went to play the DLCs, I was like, why did I do that? Because now I have to play these, and I have to because I paid for them. So when I went to get the second one, I was like, no matter how much fun you're having, Kevin, do not pay for the season pass. And I was never tempted to this time, and I'm really glad I didn't because I'm so sick of playing that game now. It's a great game. I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoy the new mechanics that they put into Origins and Odyssey to make them different from what we've done before. I just wish they were much shorter and smaller scale because like there's so much to explore, and it gets to the point where like to play this level, or to play this mission, which is part of the main mission, so you have to level up a bunch of times. So go off and explore and do, like, don't make me do that. Like, you're gonna make me play all these other quests that you made. Let me decide what I want to do. That's why Fallout is so great.
Looking forward into the future, what games are you looking forward to?
Gears 5. And
that's soon.
Yeah. And I'm very intrigued by Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also, I don't even know if you've heard of this game. You might have. There's one called The Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Made by the people that made Fallout New Vegas. So I'm looking forward to that one. Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we don't know enough about that yet.
That's a big one.
But I am excited for it.
I wonder if they'll allow you to play as elites in multiplayer.
I imagine not.
That's a big question.
I don't see why they would.
For obvious reasons. But yeah, along with that, they're announcing the new Xbox to go along with Infinite.
That's right, Scarlet.
Mm-hmm. Now, supposedly Halo Infinite is gonna work fine with all Xbox One.
I
consoles.
heard that. Like they want to make it so that it's not a different experience.
Yeah. So, what are your guys' takes? I know it's obviously way too early to tell, but you interested in getting it?
Yeah, for me, I would feel like it would be to my detriment to play it on an outdated console, and I'm using air quotes when I say that. I feel like if it's a brand new game made, to be playable on the next generation, that's how I would want to experience it.
I felt like when they announced Xbox One, they were saying this is the end of console generations. This is going to be it for a while. So, and then Kyle and I got the Xbox One X because we also had a 4K TV. We really want a good experience, so we didn't have a problem doing that. But I feel like it has not been enough time yet. I don't want to plunk down a whole bunch of new money for a new console yet. I don't think it's time. I don't really see why they're doing it. I feel like the Xbox One X or the Xbox One and the PS4 just kind of recently came out. So I'm not thrilled that there's a new one already, but
yeah, it seems like this generation is going to last about 60 to 70% shorter than, seems like the last one was about 10 years. This one seems like about 6 or 7 years that it's going to last before the next thing comes out.
Although thinking back to the original Xbox and PS2 versus the 360 and PS3, that was a pretty short time as well. That's much more similar to what's going on right now.
You know what? I just remembered there's one other thing that I'm looking forward to, and it might end up being my most hyped game of all time by the time it comes out, which is Starfield, which is the new IP from Bethesda. They make Fallout, they make Elder Scrolls. And so they created the Elder Scrolls, but that was 25 or something years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout was not their IP. They bought the rights to that, and Fallout 3 was their first Fallout game. So this is their first new thing in decades.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to be a sci-fi space game. And man, I just can't wait to find out what this is going to be. I'm so excited for it.
How about the next Doom game?
Yeah, I'd said I'm looking forward to Doom Eternal.
Mm-hmm. For me, Kevin, I'm a little bit in the same boat as you. I feel like I just got an Xbox One, even though it has been, about 6 years or so. So I think I'll be slightly hesitant to get a new Xbox or the next one, especially considering that at the moment I don't have a 4K television to take advantage of that. But I will say one thing that the Scarlet will have in its favor is that it'll come out with a new Halo game, which this is very unlike what I've done in the past, is when the Xbox One came out, I got it right away, and I kind of regretted it just because for I feel like a good year or so there wasn't much.
It didn't
on
have
it.
that star title that you were looking for.
There wasn't a real strong incentive to get it or play it.
I think that's something that Microsoft was aware of and that they're trying to fix this time around. I think they know that the next generation of Xbox needs to be like focused on games and big blockbuster titles, which is why Xbox Game Studios is buying a bunch of smaller companies. But remember when they were introducing the Xbox One, it was all about entertainment hub. It's not just games, it's this and this and this and that.
And that was the absolute wrong way.
Yeah, that was
promote
kind
it.
of, partially, that made it so expensive, and that's why everyone went to the PS4. And so, now they're saying the next Xbox is all about games. And so I think the experience that you had, I don't think it would repeat itself next generation. I think that's something that they're trying to make that experience not happen this time around.
Oh, definitely.
And it doesn't need to be an entertainment hub because by the time it comes out, everyone's going to have smart TVs, and the smart TV is the entertainment hub. I already have the hub. I just want the thing to play the games on.
And also, Lane, you said you don't have a 4K TV at the moment.
I know they're getting really cheap.
They're getting a lot
They are.
cheaper. The one that Kevin and I got was like almost $1,000, wasn't it?
I think we got a Black Friday deal, and we got it was a deal where Fry's paid the sale tax. So I think it ended up being around $800 to $900, and then you and I split it, so it was half that. But we should have waited because they're much cheaper now.
But also, it's like, the size. We have a pretty big one. The size and the quality of the one that we have, you can get now the same quality for like $300, even maybe.
I highly recommend Samsung. They're not paying me at all to say this. That's what we have.
You can say that as an iPhone owner.
Yeah. Well, Apple hasn't made an Apple TV, but if they did, it would be way too expensive. As a Samsung TV owner, I think it's great, and I recommend looking into Samsung if you're thinking about getting a 4K TV, which I think it's getting close to time for you, Lane.
I wouldn't disagree with you, but also another consideration is that I feel like all the ones that are at least being advertised or on sale are the size that you guys have, which is it's great and it's big, but it also is much bigger than my current setup. So
you're afraid it wouldn't fit?
Looking at it right now, it doesn't look like
it
you
would
have a lot of
definitely
room for.
There would have to be some major adjustments and rearrangements, especially considering how close I am from the TV.
Think about this. Now that we have the GH5, which shoots in 4K, you're editing a lot of content that is 4K on a 1080 screen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another thing is a lot of the bezels are smaller right now. The TV that you have is big bezels. You can get the same size that's all screen now.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll just have to find the happy medium between size and quality.
Yeah. I feel like that'll just be the only tricky thing, is just finding one that's smaller.
I also highly recommend getting an HDR enabled TV.
Yeah.
Because, man, when you go back to watching something on a normal SDR TV, it's like, how are you watching this? Like, this is terrible.
Now, I forget there's different kinds of HDR. What's the kind that
there's one, I think
has?
it's HDR 10, which is what we have, and then there's Dolby Vision, I think, which is, I think, better but less used.
Like, people don't make as much content for it?
Yeah. So there's plenty of HDR 10 quality stuff.
And HDR 10 is technically like true HDR.
Yeah.
It's like a high dynamic range is what that stands for. It's not like you're getting a bad experience by doing it. It's
You're
still
getting-
better than a standard definition
You're getting
TV.
deeper blacks and brighter whites and more range of color, so it can show much more better quality images than a normal TV can. It can look much more lifelike, It's the same thing when you go see a movie in the Dolby Theater, and then like Kyle and we rewatched Avengers Endgame. The first time we saw it in the Dolby Theater, and then we rewatched it in a normal theater, and you could really see the difference. It's like, wow,
a totally flat image.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to this. I want to see every movie in that Dolby Theater. And it's the same way now when I watch TV shows on somebody else's TV. It's like, let's actually go to my place and watch it. It's going to be much better.
So I think, unless you guys have anything more to add, I think we'll wrap it up.
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that wrap-up thing where we talk about all our social media, where we have something new.
Oh, yeah. I'd say probably at least a good 2 or 3 years behind the curve, at least. We now have an Instagram account that you can follow. It's Thomas Pro Inc., the same as our Twitter handle. If you want to follow us on Facebook, too, if you don't mind that, you can do that at Thomas Productions. And then, of course, we have our website, thomasproductionsinc.com.
And kevinbrio.com, but they're unrelated.
Yeah, so the website, I'll admit it's a bit janky at this point. But it is a good resource as a hub for a bunch of extraneous content, especially the older Marlin the Elite episodes 1 through 30, which are no longer on YouTube.
Yeah. Also, we no longer have a phone number, so you can't call us.
Well, I mean,
anymore.
we still do, but I just don't think it's worth plugging it. But one thing, pretty much, if you're going to do one thing, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Thomas Productions. That's where all our new videos are going to be coming out, and that's
including the new season of Marlin the Elite.
Yeah, that will be coming out September 4th, and probably by the time you're listening to this, just around the corner. It's practically around the corner right now. As
Episode 101. Can you believe it? Did 100 episodes, feature, full-length movie, and now we're on to episode 110 is what we just finished.
What we will have, what the season will conclude with.
101 is what you're about to see. Very excited for you. It's a great one.
One last thing. We've never done this before. Do you want to plug your personal, I don't know, social media accounts? Or
No,
like
thank
that?
you.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, just kevinbrio.com. I think from there you can go to my personal pages.
Yeah, for me, I have bought the domain name for a website, kylebrio.com, so you can't buy it. I don't have a website attached to it now, but at least I have the domain. Unlike you, I'm so sorry.
I have to settle for lanethomas.net. Anyways,
somebodywon'tgiveup.com.
I'm Lane.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Kevin.
Talk to you next time.